Good day, everybody. I have myself, Jeremy, and by my side we have
Claudia.
Yes, today we have invited a very special and wonderful guest who is not only a music professional in performance and teaching, but is also a very dedicated music researcher, focusing on specifically on the Kenyah tribe for more than 25 years.
Oh, that's very, very long. And she has also transcribed several books, including songs from the Kenyah community, and has also presented paperworks and workshops on Bornean music at the Symposiums Museum, as she was the keynote speaker for those events.
Interesting, isn't it? Okay, without further ado, give it up for Dr. Chong Pek Lin. Welcome.
Hello.
How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Yes, you look good today. Alright. We would love to know more about you, and I'm sure our viewers would love too. So, since you've been in this industry for so long, okay, what is the most challenging part of being an ethnomusicologist?
Yeah, I would say, speaking from the perspective of my work in rural Borneo, where I've worked mainly among the Kenyah who live in the Upper Baram and Upper Balui, the most challenging aspect would be the field work.
The field work.
Followed very closely by the transcription and the translation.
Oh.
Yeah. So maybe I'll talk about the field work first.
No problem.
Yeah, okay. Since they live very far in the interior, and I think you know very well there are no proper roads into the interior of Borneo. So in the past it was accessible only by boat. My first few journeys we had to go by boat. Later, more recently, there have been more logging roads into the interior, so I have managed to reach the villages by logging roads, which are very unpleasant and very dangerous and very expensive as well. Like, for example, if you want to rent or hire a 4-wheel drive from Miri to Longmo, it would be 600 per vehicle. So, yeah, and
You mean at
600 for now.
Now.
My recent trip, I just went in March. Yeah, 600. It's still 600. So you divide it among the people who are going. So if there are 4 of you, then it's 150 each. Yeah, something like that. Okay. Then the next thing, it's not very definite when they go, and it's very uncomfortable, and it'll take 8 hours.
Wow, 8 hours.
Very bumpy. And there's and the next then there's no public transport, so you have to network with the villagers, you have to build trust with them, and then get their contacts, and they'll arrange these trips for you.
Okay. Do you think folk music these days is important to us and our society?
Basically, all our music originally derived from folk music.
True.
That's right.
Then slowly transformed and morphed into different forms, right? And every now and then musicians have turned back to folk music for fresh ideas and inspiration, especially maybe within the last 150 years, I would say. Much of classical Western music, for example, owes its roots to the folk music of Western European countries like Italy and Austria. And then in the late 19th century, for example, in Russia, there are several Russian composers, they call the Mighty Five. They tried very much to develop a specifically Russian kind of music, very different from Western European. Like, for example, I think you've heard of Borodin's Prince Igor. They base it on a Russian folklore, a story of an epic tale of a prince. And then they put in like the Cossack rhythms, the melismatic singing, shifting of tonal center, and so on. Another example which I love is Mussorgsky's A Night on Ball Mountain. Very creepy. It's about witches. The story is about witches gathering on a Saturday night. Then I would say that over the last 60 years, with globalization and the growth of international travel, so our traditional music and dances have become an attraction to tourists. So recently, in fact, people have been asking me, for example, for ethnic music. Examples of ethnic music where they can use for the themes of their, even for trainings, whatever themes and so on. So I was saying, so I don't have it. So maybe they could use what say the musical that you took part in, we could take the audio out and sell it to them. In fact, that's one of my future projects. You want to make a CD and sell.
Wow.
And the third point is for music education. As somebody who actively advocates Kodai approach to music education, I believe very strongly in the power of folk songs in use in the classroom. And then, one example from my my own experience is when I took my performance diploma in singing. My teacher Eddie gave me a song from China, which is it's an art song, but written. It's based on a folk song from Xinjiang. It's a Kazakh folk song. Yes. So it's called July Grasslands or 7月的草原. Hope I'm pronouncing it right. July Grasslands. So it reflects the the rhythms of the Kazakh rhythms, the dance rhythms. That kind of rhythm, the melody and so on. And the examiner, when he listened to me singing Mozart, Rossini, all this, he said, very good comments. But when I sang this song, wow, he was all eyes, he was entranced, because he had never heard this kind of song before. So these are the special songs that we should promote to the world. And I have been very, very happy because the Kenyah have hundreds of these songs. I have actually transcribed over 100.
It's very fun. It sounds very fun. Yes. Okay, so what do you think of the westernizing of the folk songs nowadays? Because some of the ethnic groups have already been, the songs have already been westernized, like they put in some contemporary music instruments, correct? So do you agree on that method?
I would say that there is active debates on this going on, and I have been doing it myself in a way, because there are several different understandings. When we say westernizing, what do we mean? So can I just differentiate between several ways of how we don't say westernizing. What we say is adapt folk tunes to make it palatable to people living in the town contemporary. So for example, for me, I would, or many other people do this, taking original folk tunes and then adding harmony and Western classical instruments to it. For example, Kenyah folk songs, originally they are sung a cappella. There is no accompaniment. The only accompaniment would be stamping on the longhouse floor. So if we bring this on stage, it's a bit empty. There is no longhouse floor to stamp on, and the atmosphere is different. And our singers, my whole choir, would definitely sing out of tune. So we need accompaniment. That's why I added piano, mainly piano at first. Then later I added violin, cello. So the ethnomusicologists didn't like it. The town people liked it. But the ethnomusicologists said, you've changed it. That's what they said.
Because that's a profession.
So what I did later was, this is what we did recently. Last year we put sape, we put jatong utang instead, which is actually not their culture. It is a new development, I would say. But then the problem then, of course, I think is sape and jatong utang are pentatonic, and they can't play in different keys. So you have to sing in specific keys only. We have problems like that. And this has been happening, as I said just now, in other countries such as China over the last 50 years, where they marry Chinese and Western music into their art songs. Then another type of Westernization, you say, is what's happening in Sabah. The song Jambatan Tamparuli, Sayang Kinabalu. What they do is they take folk tunes, but they put it a pop beat. They play guitar, put pop beat, but then they marry it with a Sumazau beat. But not the original, the Sumazau beat is it's not even. So what they do is they even it out. So it's become a new genre. So it is folk, and then yet has some Western influence. Then there's another thing, which is Iban pop songs, where I see no relation at all with the folk. It's completely different. It is a new genre altogether. It's not related to the original folk music. So I would say that I believe I'm justified in adding additional harmony, putting in other instruments. But of course we try to preserve as much of the original flavor as possible. For example, for me, I always try to use original lyrics in Kenya, sing in Kenya, try to follow. Now I try to use more traditional Kenya harmony, the parallel fifths and so on, and of course use of more traditional instruments. But then of course if we want choirs the whole world around the whole world to sing, it's more appealing if we arrange it with piano, for example. That's easily available to everyone.
Easiest. Right. Okay, so on that topic, do you have any message to the younger viewers?
Yes, definitely. Yes, it has been emphasized many times that we in Malaysia have a rich and unique music and dance traditions, and these should be researched on, preserved, and made relevant to contemporary society. So please help to do so before they disappear.
Listen. Yes.
So this phenomenon of vanishing culture is very, very it is something that is really something that you must do very fast, right? Because what I have seen, for example, when I go to Longmo, when I first went there into 1995, there were about 500 people there, 500 people there, and at that time I had gone by boat. They had no cameras, they have no postal service and so on, but there were people and they really practice their traditions. So the whole kampong will gather together and sing in harmony and dance and so on. But then when I went back in 2009, there were only about 100 people actually resident there. Hardly anybody there, so very few people there. And then when I went back in 2020, only 50 people resident.
Wow.
And
It used to be how many?
There used to be 700 people.
Wow.
And the singers may not be there, you see. So, but the one man that was a really good singer, every time I went there, I would look for him. So in 1995, he was the main dancer. He could sing and dance and everything. When I went in 2009, he wasn't there. He was in town. Follow his chuchu town. Many of the Kenyah go to town because no income in the rural areas because of the transport. And then in 2020, he wasn't there again. He has actually moved with 20 families. They moved to Lapok near to Miri because now they think that's the way to make money. Grow oil palm. Whereas if you grow rice or rubber or what in the rural areas, no way to transport it to town to market. And the other thing is, of course, with the advent of television, video, and so on, people prefer to stay in their own bilik rather than come out and sing and watch TV. And then many, like in other places, Umasambo, they used to sing also very often. But then when I went the last few times, I went, nobody was there. Where are they? In the oil palm plantation. So they don't sing anymore. And of course, the younger people don't sing. So it's only the people 50, 60 years old who sing.
Only.
Very sayang.
Sayang, sad. Very sad.
Any advice to those who want to pursue ethnomusicologists as their work life? Yeah, what will you tell them?
Yes.
Yeah, I would say it's a hugely rewarding profession. And getting to know and to work with talented musicians who live in a very different lifestyle from our own. Right? They have very little money actually, but they are very skilled in other things. They know so much about the rivers, the wildlife, and so on. And they are very good at crafting their instruments, at singing from memory, and so on. They are passionately preserving their art form. Those few that are left, I would say, not many. Which is very sad. The youngsters, mainly because they spend most of the time in boarding school. They don't see their parents much. That's the other thing. But however, if you take this up, don't expect to become rich.
But it's fun, it's fun.
Yes.
You can explore,
Yeah.
I mean, you are rich, but rich in knowledge.
Yes.
Right?
So most ethnomusicologists, their money will come in from, they are mainly lecturers in universities. Their pay would come from lecturing, and or you could work for a museum where you're a curator for the curator of music in that museum. That would be in the Maybe not in Kuching yet, maybe in the bigger cities. Maybe soon, yeah, Kuching is good museum, right? And the other thing is, well, it's not all fun. It's a lot of time you have to compile that data.
Research.
And the worst thing, yeah, for me was translation. Yeah. Like for example, Kenyah, there's no proper dictionary. Yeah.
Yes.
So sometimes I would have to make special trips to the area just to get my songs translated.
To learn.
But
how
yeah,
do you
but
learn
nowadays
language?
there is no dictionary, so I don't.
You just learn from the villages.
From the villages,
Oh,
those who
wow.
can speak Malay. Luckily, many of them can speak Malay. Yeah. And but nowadays, it's good that now we have internet. Now I can communicate. Last time, no way to communicate. You just have to go there, okay, and do it. And then you have to translate. You have to compile data. You have to edit your videos, and then you have to write a lot. And then you have to present what you do. Present papers and persuade people. Tell stories, in fact, persuade people that this is good music. And so, actually, one way I found that for me to persuade people or show people it is beautiful music is by putting on shows, staging shows. So that's why I've been grateful to my students and people like talented musicians like you who can help to do this.
Okay, so well then we've come to the end of our session with the lovely Dr. Chong.
Right.
So yeah.
Right. Like us, we hope you had fun as well.
Yeah, that's all from us. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and watch our video.
We'll see you next time.
Yeah. Once again, I am Jeremy
And I'm Claudia.
and Dr. Chong. Okay, see you. Bye bye.